Hi there, everyone. Cho and Kyung here, and welcome to episode 3 of Over Soju. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Stephen Kim. He's one of our good friends all the way from Hawaii, and he's going to be on our show today because today our topic is going to be hiking in Korea.
So we're going to be Zoom interviewing him. Hopefully the sound quality is perfect.
Yes, it's our first time doing a Zoom interview, so if it's not up to par, please bear with us. We're still trying to get the hang of this.
Yeah. So Jason, how do you know Steve?
So Steve and I, we actually went to college together, and he came to Korea about 2 years after I came. And ever since then, we always hung out while we were both living in Seoul. And so, yeah, we've known each other for, I guess now, more than 10 years.
Right. And he's very knowledgeable, in about the scenes in Korea. Like, for example, like drinking, not just hiking, but also like running.
Yeah.
Like he's big into just physical activities.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then especially while he was living in Korea, he was huge into hiking, and so he has just a huge wealth of knowledge of just what to wear when you're hiking, where some of the best places to go, what to expect when hiking. So I'm really excited to hear what he has to say.
Sure, and it doesn't really have a language barrier. When you want to go hiking. Steve is going to show us the ropes. On what groups to access, which mountains to climb, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, can't wait. So let's get started.
All right, so Steve is in Hawaii right now. He was with us for 5 years in Korea, right? Is that correct? Since 2000.
I was actually in Korea for almost 7 years, but close enough.
Okay. We know, Young and I know you very personally, and we know that you're a super social guy. Do like a lot of extracurricular stuff. So just tell us about some of the things that you would do during your downtime in Korea.
When I lived in Seoul, I was part of a running club, the Seoul Flyers running club, and pretty much went to the weekly events, running up Namsan and whatnot, and ran a bunch of races around Korea as well, which then extended to other countries. In addition to that, also really enjoyed the hiking, around Seoul and the whole country itself. What else? Just, I love to eat. I'm a foodie, so, exploring restaurants, checking out the bar scene. Obviously, with Korea, the nightlife is, essential. So,
yeah,
very much so part of that. Just all around, really. Just had a really active, well-rounded lifestyle that's pretty hard to experience when you're in other countries. But I think in Korea, there's just so much going on every day. And I really miss it actually, because here in Hawaii, it's definitely a bit more chill and more nature-oriented.
So, Steve, you mentioned hiking, and so I know personally that you were a huge hiker for a couple of years. First, tell us, how'd you get into hiking in Korea?
Well, let's see. I can't really recall, but I remember going on a random hike. I believe it was one of the first couple of months that I got to Seoul. And I think it was like the Ansan hike, right? The one near Shincheon University. And ever since then, I just sort of gotten hooked. Yeah.
Did you hike even back in the States?
Back in the States, not really. I think given that I was living on the East Coast, whether it was Virginia, D.C., or Jersey, not many mountains around to hike. So, the opportunities weren't really there.
Okay. All right. And for your hiking, why Ansan? I believe that's what you said. That was your first one, right?
Yeah, that was my first one, and I went up that one with I think it was my cousin, I believe, at the time, and we were just sort of going for a walk, and it ended up being a hike. Let alone, I mean, granted, it wasn't a crazy hike, but still, got really nice views of the city, and really got my first taste of Korean mountains.
So overall, how many, I guess, whatever you would consider mountains, How many mountains in Korea did you hike?
Wow. I'd say easily. I'd say easily over 10.
Okay. Wow. That's
Yeah.
not very good. How many of them were in Seoul?
I would say about about 4 of them, I believe.
Oh,
4.
okay.
Yeah.
So you did a good amount outside of Seoul as well.
Absolutely. The thing is, Seoul itself, though, when you include Namsan and the outskirts, I mean, it's surrounded by mountains. So there is actually plenty of trails that I haven't actually hiked. But
Mhm.
you know, but in terms of outside of Seoul, the lower regions, or even to the east, I
Mhm.
definitely hiked a few.
Okay.
Which which one did you think was the best hike?
Me personally, Saryangdo, which is actually an island off to the south near Name. Actually, it's off of Tongyong. Sorry, but it's pretty much at the furthest, at the southernmost point, even further south than Busan, actually. But I remember that hike being extremely beautiful, and it's pretty much a ridge hike where you're basically having panoramic views of the ocean and surrounding islands as you're hiking. And I just, to this day, I've been wanting. I actually want to hike that again one day, but that was definitely the most memorable. People always talk about, the most advertised ones like, Soraksan, Halasan,
Mhm.
Chisan, and all those, but which are all beautiful in their own right. But at least for me personally, just that Saryangyo hike was it was something else.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Sodak-san and Hara-san because I do want to talk about those. But first, let's stay within Seoul because I know you did the Seoul Trail, or also in Korean, the Seoul Tulekil, right?
Yeah, I did the Seoul Trail, the Tulekil. That in itself was not really a hike per se. It was literally just like a trail walk, if you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
which traversed through several of the mountains around Seoul, but you never actually hiked to the summit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So for the people who don't know what it is, it's basically, I guess, a trail that is like the perimeter of the city of Seoul, right?
yes, basically it's a trail that is sponsored by the Seoul government,
Mm-hmm.
and basically the trail it goes through the surrounding, I guess, perimeter of Seoul, including all the mountains, and basically it gives you a really nice, I guess, view of areas that you probably wouldn't ever like frequent or go to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only just the mountains you actually go through, but several wooded areas and small little neighborhoods, actually really neat
Yeah.
neighborhoods that you would never again frequent. But yeah, and along the way you collect stamps too. So
Yeah,
you
so over the weekend, I went to one of the tourist information centers in Seoul, and I
yep,
got one of the books where the Seoul
there you go.
Trail stamp book, and
Yep,
there's like how many? Let's see, 1, 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14,
it's a lot.
16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28 places for stamps.
Yeah, it's really extensive, and there are that many stamps to actually obtain.
That's a
And
ton of stamps.
no, it is a ton of stamps. I mean, but the trail itself is that extensive, though. It's not, and between each, I guess they put it like they have these little red postal boxes that contain the stamps.
Hmm.
But between each of those boxes, each of those checkpoints, if you want to call it, I mean, you're talking hours of walking, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how fast you are.
Yeah.
So,
So, I
and
mean,
this
I'm
isn't,
assuming you were doing this just on the weekends. Like, how many,
yeah.
like,
So, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was doing this on the weekends whenever I had time because for me it was pretty much an all-day affair. It was a matter of getting to the location, to the starting point, wherever you were on the trail,
Hmm.
and you're talking, 3-4 hours, right? So depending on when you start, and I'm not a morning person, I start in the afternoon. That's pretty. That's pretty much a whole day essentially.
Yeah.
And some days I've had to wake up early just to fit in like a 6 or 7 hour hike. I mean, oh yeah, so it was definitely it's definitely not a walk in the park per se.
Yeah. So, I mean, start to finish, how long did it take you to do this? I'm assuming maybe half a year?
For me, it took about a half a year, and and probably because I took some weekends off and whatnot.
Okay.
Hey,
I mean,
what's
but there was, yeah. I mean, depending on how I felt and how determined I was, I would finish, like 2 segments, right? So like, it all depended. But for me, it was 6 months. Um,
yeah?
I would say.
Hey, what's the most satisfying meal after finishing the trail?
Ooh, good question.
It depends on the day and how you feel. But I mean, you gotta have makgeolli, obviously. Just do what the ajashis and ajumas do, essentially.
So is
Um,
makgeolli like a spinach for you when you like hike up the trail and shit?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Like, do you drink makgeolli like during the trail?
Um, yeah. Sometimes I do, depending on again my condition. If I'm really killing it that
Mhm.
day, and if I'm not tired, I do have the luxury of sipping a couple of makgeolli bottles, I guess. But
Well, I can imagine
yeah,
just the
yeah.
energy that you're expending, like the makgeolli, like any alcohol that might be in your system, just gets like worked out immediately as you're hiking.
Well, exactly. You don't really have time to get drunk,
Yeah.
right? You're pretty much just letting it out. But the other issue, obviously, with that is, I mean, your bladder fills up pretty quickly, and
Ah,
you end up having to go to the bathroom often. So,
mhm,
that's there is good sides and bad sides, but I've always brought a bottle of makgeolli with me on the trail, and I've
ooh.
tried to actually hold off until finishing it, obviously. But there are times where the temptation is too strong, so you just give
Mhm.
in.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So going a little bit outside of Seoul, I know. So for Steve, you and I, we did one hike, but we did possibly the hardest hike ever, Solaksan. Now, before I talk about my experience, let me hear about
All right.
yours.
Well, so Jason and I decided to hike the longest trail in Soraksan,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to remember um,
So for people
the
who don't
name of
know,
the trail.
Solaksan is I guess technically the second largest mountain, but the largest mountain
Yeah,
within the continent, because because the largest mountain in Korea is Halasan, but that's on
yeah,
Jeju Island. Yeah.
yeah. That's on Jeju Island, and I think Soraksan is like the second tallest on the peninsula per se,
Yeah, it
right?
took
So,
us.
Baekdusan is the tallest if counting the
well,
peninsula.
that's if it,
Okay.
well, that's if you include North Korea, it's
Yeah.
Paektusan. But for
Yeah.
South Korea, it would
Yeah.
be Chirisan, right, and then Soraksan, at least on
Okay.
the peninsula. Yeah.
Okay, that
And
was
So
sick.
Saraksan is in Gangwon province, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, it's in Gangwon Province. Very beautiful, very scenic. It's near the water as well, so you really get the best of both worlds.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's a very famous. I mean, it's probably the most famous mountain I'd say on the peninsula, right? Um, People always go there during the fall to see the fall foliage and all that. So,
Hmm.
but either way, Jason and I decided to on one fateful weekend to hike that thing. And
I'm trying to remember
honestly,
exactly how we decided. Well, I think you had already plans to do it, but and then you had just
yeah,
asked me a couple times, like, "Hey, you want to go? You want to
yeah,
go?" And then eventually I decided yes.
yeah. I had to coerce you, obviously, and fortunately, I was able to make you go essentially. But
Hmm.
I mean, we were going to make it pretty much a 1 day hike.
Yeah.
So you'd have to start from the early wee hours of the morning, and then I don't know, depending on how fast you go, hopefully
Yeah.
before sunset.
Yeah, I believe we had woken up at 7, or maybe like somewhere between 6 and 7, and we thought that was going to be early enough, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it was going to be difficult, even if we woke up earlier than that, because typically on these long trails, the ones that are sort of like expert level per se, the one that we decide to hike. People typically rent out shelters, obviously,
Hmm.
and to sort of so that they can actually enjoy the hike, right? Sort of spend the afternoon
Yeah.
hiking, and then sort of sleep at night, wake up the next morning, see the sunrise, and finish the rest of the hike.
Yeah.
That's what I think normal people do. But I think given that this is Jason and I, we decided to actually just go balls out, essentially.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah.
So before we talk about the actual hike that we started,
Yeah.
let's talk about some some equipment that we brought. Now, I was severely underprepared. What was the equipment? What is the equipment that you should be bringing if you're going to do a mountain like Seoul?
What is this? Big summer or?
This was when was this? Was this summer?
No, I think this was like,
Fall?
oh man,
Or like
I think it was.
early spring or something?
I think it was fall time frame because it was still it was starting to get chilly, I believe.
Yeah, it was chilly, but I don't think because if it was fall time, I think we were seeing the the foliage, but I don't. I want to
actually,
say
you're right.
I want to say
It
it
might
was
have
like maybe late winter, early spring.
Yeah, late winter, early spring. So it was starting to warm up, but obviously when you're on the East Coast and when you're especially in the mountains, it's definitely much colder, right? So I just remember wearing a long sleeve and some pants. But back to your your question on hand here.
Yeah.
In terms of equipment, I mean, at the very least, you got to have hiking shoes, right?
Yeah. Proper hiking shoes.
Like proper hiking shoes, which Jason obviously lacked, and he can probably expound on that later.
Well, I can expound on it right now because it's pretty quick. I decided to bring workout shoes.
Okay.
And that was, and like I had like kind of like specially designed workout shoes that had a very, very thin, like lower, like rubber sole. So as I was walking, I felt every single rock.
Yeah, that basically tennis shoes, and and I think Jason approached the hike with a little bit too much ease, if anything, and
I should also mention at this point in my life, I was severely out of shape. Like I had so much stress from work. Like I was drinking and smoking like every single day. I had the worst possible physical conditions.
Tell me about it.
Wait, so what's changed? Nah, I'm just. But
well, I'm not hiking anymore. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. I mean, I already saw the writing was on the wall in terms of how you're going to go. I just said, you know what, you've got to learn the hard way. But aside from the shoes, aside from the shoes though, I mean, on a long hike like that, you probably want like a water bottle or a Camelback, obviously, because hydration is of the utmost importance, and of course some energy bars and whatnot. Again, the hike we were on was 10 plus hours, so it was going to be a strenuous effort.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sorak-san usually takes more than a day to climb.
Yeah, it normally does take more than a day. But again, we I don't know, for some god awful reason, we decided to finish it in one day.
Well, we didn't really have a choice because we said that we wanted to get to the top. Now, from what I remember, is that our start to finish time was almost exactly 12 hours. I believe we started at 7, we finished at 7.
Yes, and it was only 12 hours because I was at some point I was dragging you. I think I don't know if I was dragging you.
Whoa! Okay, hold on.
I was more so berating you the whole time. Like, dude, why didn't you wear the proper shoes? And like,
that's very true.
I mean, in the beginning, we were like doing pretty well, and I could see that Jason was, he was actually toughing it out. But I think at around like even just like a 3 or 4 hour point, I mean, that's when you heard, you just heard the you heard the pain, you heard the screeching.
Well, I'll say that for me, the most difficult part was probably going down, because on the way down, it wasn't that physically strenuous on my legs, but my feet were in so much pain. And then on the way down, it was just all these small rocks. And so that's where just every single time I took a step, it was just pain would just shoot up through my feet.
It's funny you say that because I didn't feel that much pain. I mean, if you have
You
the
were wearing
proper
hiking shoes.
exactly. It kind of goes back to that. If you're not properly equipped, you're gonna suffer and you're gonna risk injury. I was actually very much so terrified that you would break an ankle or something in mid hike, and God help us if that was the case.
So
So
it's
uh,
funny you mentioned that as well, because there were certain points, I think maybe 2 or 3 points along the hike, where I had seriously considered hurting myself so much so that I could get like a medical helicopter to lift
Okay.
me out of the mountain.
Yeah, I heard of that anecdote where you wanted to jump off or something.
Yeah, not like jump off like like 300
Yeah.
meters down, but like just enough where I could be injured enough
Airlifted.
to be airlifted, but not seriously injured where it would cause me permanent
I
injury.
see.
see, okay, if you were alone, you could probably do that, but I wasn't gonna let that happen. I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of here. And
That's true.
you know,
I will
I
say,
was that's
yeah,
it just
I will say that I don't know if I ever thanked you, but yes, thank you very much, Steve, for pushing me through that mountain.
well, it's funny you mentioned that because I think the last 30 minutes when we were like pretty much near the entrance and it was getting really dark,
It was.
I
Yeah.
kind of just rushed ahead
Hmm.
and I was sort of in the zone. I was kind of like in the zone, and I realized, oh shit, I think I left Jason behind. And I looked behind me, and you weren't there for like, I couldn't see you. I couldn't even see you from like far out into the distance.
Yeah.
And then there were these hikers that were coming down, and they were like, "Hey, I think you left your friend back there." I'm like, "Oh, I think I did." So like, I kind of had to like wait. I didn't even bother to go back to pick you up. Actually, I just waited.
Yeah, thanks a lot, you
And I could,
bastard.
no, but then I can hear you off in the distance, like and I'm like, oh, there he is. He's coming. I hear him.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, as long as he weren't dead, I was okay with it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, so we talked about kind of, I guess, the disadvantages of hiking, especially in terms of how you should prepare yourself for it. But I mean, when we got to the top, how would you describe the summit when we finally reached it?
As with any hike I've been on, and if you ask anyone else, I mean, it's exhilarating, and you, even just for a second or a millisecond, you kind of forget about the pain that you just endured.
That's true.
Yeah, you kind of get that dopamine kick or whatever you call it,
Hmm.
and you just sort of enjoy what's around you. You enjoy the scenery because in the end, you earned it, right?
Mhm.
And fortunately for us, there was a beautiful view of the mountains and the landscape waiting for us.
Hmm.
It's not always the case when if you hike on a cloudy day, you may not see anything, and that's when you get really pissed when you get up there. But I guess in our case, we were very lucky, so that's usually the feeling.
Yeah, gotcha.
Hey, you didn't answer my question exactly about like the most satisfying meal after a hike. You
Oh,
only
that's
just
right.
Yeah, you only just mentioned makgeolli, but like,
Well,
yeah,
I usually say it all starts and ends with makgeolli, but usually with makgeolli, you eat like pajan, right, and
Mhm.
then like 골뱅이 muchim, stuff like that. What else? Like, oh man, like if you have the money on that day, get some pig soup, right?
Ooh.
That's always very, very good.
well, how are they called in English?
Pajan, that's like so that's pretty much the Korean pancakes, right?
Yeah.
Typically they put scallions and squid.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Sometimes,
kimchi.
Yeah, sometimes kimchi.
yeah. So that's like a comfort food, but it goes especially well with makgeolli, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
골뱅이 muchim, that's like snail essentially, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like snail with red pepper sauce,
Cool.
onions, and
Mhm.
all sorts of veggies. That's
Mhm.
it's a very good dish as well.
Hmm.
And then takbek soup is like it's like a chicken porridge, right? So usually takes a lot of time to cook, but it's very, very filling, very savory.
Yeah, they put a
Uh,
whole chicken in there in the pot.
Yeah, they put a whole chicken in there. They stuff it, I guess, with rice and like ginseng and whatnot.
Yeah, you
Um,
could also make it spicy.
you can make it spicy, add a little kimchi to it.
Right.
So I mean, I think those are like your staple dishes when it comes to like post hiking Korean food. But honestly, sometimes just good old barbecue is good enough, quite frankly.
That's what we
barbecue,
did afterwards.
yeah, exactly.
When we left the mountain and before we were going back to Seoul, we went to go get samgyeopsal.
Well, yeah, that's the only thing that was open because it was so damn late, Jason.
Yeah.
So samgyeopsal is the pork belly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, samgyeopsal is the pork belly. Yes, and
Traditional Korean barbecue, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Traditional Korean barbecue. You can't go wrong with that. Pretty much universal. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, did other than your hike with Jason, did you seek out social media channels to invite strangers to hike with you,
or even get information about hiking?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm not sure if I. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. No, I mean, I didn't really look through Instagram or anything. I mean, at the time, I don't think there was much of a presence on Instagram when it came to hiking. I just didn't know, probably. But I joined Facebook groups, right? So you had the Seoul hiking group, right? And then I also joined the Climbing in Korea, CIK, I believe. Those are some groups I joined. And, they organize trips all around the country, essentially, to all the major hiking destinations and the ones that, you may not know, right? And, you pay a fee. Well, sometimes you got to pay a membership fee first, and then you pay a discounted fee, right? To go on these trips, essentially, with the group. And, they usually have a tour bus.
But they're worth it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you don't know where to go, if you don't know where to start, it's absolutely worth it. I mean, it's worth it to actually, sort of get an idea of how to look for these mountains, knowing what to bring with you, right? When it comes to equipment, you sort of learn those things as you observe others, right? Because otherwise you're just sort of going up there with no real idea, right, of what to expect. But that's how I basically, learned about the mountains outside of Seoul. And then I started doing my own research and, started exploring by myself. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, while you were hiking, did you notice a lot of young people, like guys your age?
I don't know how it is now, but at least when I was hiking, you don't see many people your age, honestly. I'd say at least 50 or 60% are, ajumas, ajoshis, middle-aged people, and even senior citizens.
Yeah.
And, that kind of revealed to me how, healthy and in shape these people were, essentially, despite their age.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason I asked this question is because I was just reading an article in the Korean newspapers. They're saying that, I mean, now because of COVID, there are huge numbers of a lot younger people. We're talking people in their 30s and 20s now getting into hiking, promoting it on their social media. And then just anecdotes of the older traditional hiking people saying that oh yeah, when I go up, I see a ton of more younger people, couples, just groups of friends. Maybe not doing the more serious hikes like Solaksan, but definitely the smaller ones that you would find in Seoul. There's tons of more younger people doing it because, basically because they don't have anything else to do.
No, I agree, and I'm not surprised. I mean, you really have nothing to do, so you got to sort of, to other activities, essentially, right? Because when it comes to the,
and also,
I mean, when it comes to
very accessible.
Exactly, it's very accessible, and I think when it comes to, young people in Korea, their priority is to drink and party and whatnot. So, and I mean, at the time, I thought that was kind of a shame because, when people speak of Korea, they always speak of the nightlife. But I always say the most underrated aspect of Korea is the nature, right? It's the mountains and the opportunities to sort of get out there outside the city. So, yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm not surprised that younger folks are getting out there, and it's very encouraging. It's great. It's a very healthy activity, and I think it helps with your mental state as well.
Yeah. Now, going back on the equipment part, there's one question I did want to ask you is, did you ever consider getting one of those hiking sticks or hiking canes?
It's funny you mentioned that because I actually have one.
Oh
I
yeah.
actually have two. So
You use
initially,
both of them at the same time?
um, you don't have to actually. If I'm by myself, I'll use them. I'll use both of them. But if I'm with a friend who probably needs one or should have one, I'll lend them the stick for the hike.
Mhm.
Um, it's
Does it make a difference?
I'd say it does.
Mhm.
You especially when you're going downhill.
Mhm.
Um, as you would know, Jason, with your tennis shoes, uh, there's a lot of impact and pressure that gets put on your knees, right, in your joints.
Mhm.
And one way to sort of mitigate that is to use hiking sticks. You
Yeah.
sort of the sticks actually help absorb a lot of that impact and
So
pressure.
what I've heard that I think it's somewhere between like it's able to alleviate maybe 20 to 30% off of your like lower body joints.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is very significant when you're trying to get the hell off a mountain and you're kind of tired. So at least for me, I'm not young anymore, so I'd rather use the sticks on the way down.
Yeah.
Hey, what are some like equipment that we could use for the winter?
I'd say the what do you call those? It's
Those like
the
spikes, right?
crampons.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
they call it the crampons, right? Or as Koreans will call them, aijen or whatever. I don't know, but
yeah.
the crampons are something you definitely need if you're going to do winter hiking because of the snow and the ice that forms on the mountains, naturally speaking. So, but that's that, and obviously, having a good waterproof, winter coat, hiking coat, and also some pants that are waterproof as well.
Mhm.
Um, you definitely absorb a lot more moisture during the winter, especially when it snows and whatnot. So you don't want to get sick on the mountain, obviously.
Yeah.
So
And speaking
yeah.
of clothing, did you go like full Korean style where like you're getting kind of the high end hiking brands and stuff?
Me, absolutely not. I didn't really. Well, it depends. I think during the winter, I definitely hiked for more winter, seasonal clothes,
Yeah.
just for my own safety. But I really didn't care for it during the summer or spring.
Yeah.
To me, it was just too damn hot for me to put on some nice, some nice pants and long sleeves or whatnot. I didn't really see the need for it.
Yeah.
I kind of got by with just like my running shirts or what and my running shorts.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another thing I read that article that was talking about how young people are now more and more going to hiking. Another thing that they mentioned was that people would have expected because of that there would be an increase in sales and in the hiking brands, but no, the young people they're just using their workout clothes. They're going to like what do you call it, like the athleisure market, and then just using those clothes. Like for example, girls would just wear leggings and they just go straight to the mountain.
Yeah.
hey, you know what? That's actually not surprising
Yeah.
because a lot of that hiking gear that you see that's really fancy, it's probably more fitting for middle-aged people for your hachimas and ajishis. To see that same look on someone who's younger,
Mhm.
it would be kind of jarring, to be honest with you. And like
Yeah.
the athleisure look is pretty much in these days,
Mhm.
and I much so prefer that. Quite frankly, it's
Yeah.
it's a lot it's a
So,
lot
I mean,
less, a lot more
so,
maintenance.
so
Yeah.
going back to the mountains. So far, from your experience, what was the hardest mountain you had to climb while you were in Korea?
The hardest one for me was definitely Halasan,
Oh,
and
really?
yes, so that hike, of course, it's the highest mountain, but it's not really it wasn't really the elevation or the length of the hike. It was the fact that the terrain was just all lava rock, essentially.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you're
because it's a
constant.
deactivated volcano, right?
Yeah, it's a deactivated volcano, and it's all rock essentially. So it's all lava rock. So you're constantly having to sort of maneuver yourself around the crevices and whatnot, so you don't break an ankle or whatnot and hurt yourself.
Hmm.
And not only that, God forbid if it rained the day before, if it rained the day before, if there was some moisture or dew, the rocks get very slippery as well. So
Hmm.
that part was kind of hard to navigate because when I went, it actually rained. So there was definitely a safety issue there. But on top of that, there are no views or lookouts along the way. It's just straight up. Once you're in the woods, and then you hit the hiking path, and you just go straight up essentially.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to look at. It's just rocks and trees, right? It's nice in the beginning, but after a while, you're like, it drives you crazy because it's a long hike. Yeah.
So for people who want to hike but don't want to, I guess, basically do the work, do a lot of the mountains that you went to, did they also have like cable cars or any other way to get to the top in a more expedient and convenient manner?
Yeah, you wouldn't call that hiking, but
yeah, exactly.
well, I mean, of course you have. I mean, Namsan obviously is the most obvious. It's the most well-known one with the cable car, but there were mountains, outside of Seoul that had cable cars as well. Some variation of it.
Yeah, I believe Seoul has a cable car.
Seoul has one too, as well. Yes, I don't think Chirisan has one, and Hasan definitely doesn't have one. But I went to a mountain over in where was it? Freaking A. In Kajedo, there's a mountain there, and there's a cable car for that as well. So you can enjoy the mountains in Korea via cable car, but there are some they just have to hike, to really get the full experience.
Okay. Now, I mean, since you live in Hawaii, and Hawaii also has incredible hiking, are you able to like maybe compare? Like, are they about the same level of intensity, like enjoyment, or are there like what are the similarities and differences that you see?
I've only been on one hike so far, so I can't really say much yet. But at least from what I experienced, it's definitely more of a jungle hike. So the humidity is pretty high here. Different forms of vegetation you see along the way because it is, tropical climate.
Yeah.
I'd say the hikes themselves are not difficult so far. They've been pretty easy for me at least.
Okay.
Nothing spectacular, but obviously when you get to the top, you get a view of the islands and the ocean and whatnot. And I mean, come on, it's Hawaii, so it's very breathtaking.
What's the mountain called?
It was God, I actually forgot, but Tantalus Point is actually the lookout. So
nice.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. Yeah. How about we pause here just for a second? I'm not gonna stop recording here. Oh no, actually, I'll just keep this going. Is it really is it nighttime over there now?
Yeah, man. It's like 6:16. It's 6:16 p.m., but it gets dark really quick here.
Yeah, that sun went down like amazingly quick.
Yeah, it goes down quick here.
Shit, Jesus.
Did you stop recording the Zoom?
The Zoom's still recording. I just stopped recording the GarageBand.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I didn't because this is my first time recording, so I didn't want. I just let it go. Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to use the Zoom recording since the sound quality is.
Wait, so guys, how's it going though? You think it's going well so far? Do I need to shorten my answers? Like, what's going on?
No, it's fine. It's fine. No. Just be as natural as you can.
Yeah.
No.
Is that in your opinion, anything else that would be interesting for our audience to learn about hiking in Korea?
Oh man. I actually don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not feeling too creative right now. I don't know.
Well, I mean, those
mountains that he didn't climb in Korea.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's a good question. Yeah. So for mountains that you weren't able to climb in Korea, were there any in particular that you really wanted to come back and maybe try to do them?
Oh wow, I think. Oh man, Chirisan actually, I didn't climb that one. Fuck.
Oh really?
Oh, I thought you
did. Let's just pretend that I did. Let's see. I think that's the only one, but man. Other than that, I can't say that I didn't hike any other major ones.
How about well, I know you went to Ulleungdo, okay, and Ulleungdo is famous for being close to Dokdo, the
disputed island.
Yeah, the disputed islands between Korea and Japan. Now,
Yeah.
from what I remember, just seeing pictures of Ulungdo, that looks like pretty rocky terrain.
It's very rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, they have a mount. There is a mountain there as well, but I mean, it's not as impressive as you would think.
Mhm.
There is hiking there, but it's not that good.
Okay. All right.
Sick.
So then, for someone who's just getting into hiking, are there any mountain or mountains that you would first recommend?
I was just getting into hiking. I'd say explore the mountains in Seoul, like Seoul Central. If anything, like let's say Ansan in Sinchon, right? Like where Yonsei University is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good beginner's hike. Or just go up Namsan. Granted it's a paved trail, but it's a
Yeah.
start.
Or you can try Bugok Mountain by Jungno. Right?
Exactly, that's another
Yeah.
good one.
I think that's I honestly, personal experience wise, I think that's a much better climb than Namsan.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, there's less people. It's like I think you get nicer views from there. You get views of the Blue House too.
A little more off the trail,
Yep. Shit, I want to go back.
Hey, you didn't go hiking during the COVID era, like during the pandemic.
I did go on the Soul Trail, yes.
During COVID?
During COVID.
Really? Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Damn.
that was a little risky.
Well, were there? I mean, when you were doing that, were there a lot of people?
Yes.
Not really, actually. Not as no. It was just an average day, kind of
Mhm.
like, yeah, not many people.
Mm.
So which summit had the best view?
Saryangdo.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Saryangdo.
All right. Wait, where's that?
It's off the coast of Tongyang.
I really gotta get better at Korean geography.
Oh, so that's like where Namhae is. Namhae.
Yeah, it's like near Namhae, actually. Yeah, it's kind of shoot. I'm trying to think.
Is that north, south, east, west?
No, it's either the east or the west. I forgot my geography, but it's way down there. It's to the west of Busan, southwest of Busan, southwest.
Okay. And why? What does Saryongdo overlook?
It overlooks pretty much the I'd say it overlooks all the surrounding islands off of Tongyang, and you can actually see Tongyang in itself. And I think on a clear day you can see Temado as well.
Oh, you can
So
see
that's
another island.
Yeah, you can see Tsushima Island. So that's
wow.
yeah. So no, you see a bunch of islands because they call Tongyang the Naples of Korea because off the coast there's so many different islands you can go to.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
Any other any unique characteristics that each mountain has, like each trail?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, Halasan, it's like volcanic rock, which is horrible. Let's see other unique features. I can't really say because I feel like all the Korean mountains have similar features when it comes to
Bugoksan has the skyway, right?
Yeah, it has Skyway.
Yeah.
I was just more so talking like the trees and like the surface, the rocks and whatnot. They all look pretty similar across the mountains. Now, where the way they're laid out, maybe it's a little different, but you kind of get a similar feel for each. For me, it's the view that kind of separates each and every one of them.
Well, the base. The base of Sarak Mountain has a temple, right? A Buddhist temple.
I believe
Yes,
they have a Buddhist temple, and also kind of halfway through the mountain, there's a I've been there. It's like, I don't know what you call it, maybe just a Buddhist shrine.
And a statue of the Buddha,
yeah. It's built into the mountain,
right,
which is really cool, I would have to say.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, that's a feature of all Korean mountains, I think most of them, especially the big ones.
Yeah.
There's going to be a temple at the base or somewhere in the mountain. You're bound to bump into one. It's just, Yeah, it's one of those things you're going to bump it. You're going to see no matter what.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and side note, you can get really awesome incense, like at the shops near the Buddhist temples.
Right.
this is true.
Yeah.
Pile on some rocks to make a wish, you know.
Oh yes, you could do that too. You see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should cut it, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good here. All right. Well, Steve, thanks a lot for doing this with us.
Hey, not a problem.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to share my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Steve, I hope you can come back to Korea at some point, even if it's just for a visit. I know right now that with work, you can't really be affording to just spend a 2-week quarantine in Korea.
Yeah, that would suck. I had to do that when I first arrived to Hawaii. So yeah, hopefully in the near future they'll lift that quarantine.
And hopefully we'll be able to do another podcast with you physically here.
That would be great. I'm more than willing. This has been a lot of fun. Wish you guys the best.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, dude. We love you.
Shut up.
Yeah, have a good day,
same
man.
Here, man.
All right.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye. So thanks for listening, guys. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and learned a lot about hiking.
Yeah, so check out Seoul Hiking and Nature Group on Facebook. I think they're very resourceful in terms of scheduling which hikes are available. You can also meet a lot of cool peeps there, so check it out.
And there's also the Seoul Tourist Information Center and the Korea National Park Service. We've included links in the show notes, so check them out. And during our episode, we were talking about the stamp book for the Seoul Trail. Now, to get this stamp book, usually you have to go to the Seoul City Hall government building. But because of COVID-19, they're closed right now. But very close to it, there is a small Seoul Tourist Information Center kiosk. And you can go there and get as many as you want.
Take care and happy hiking.